With a month of play already in the books, there has been a lot that has happened throughout the year that has been turning heads. The standings are incredibly tight, with nobody really sitting that far above the rest of the pack. Some teams are breaking out in a big way, exceeding all expectations, and others are doing the opposite of that. In today's video, we'll be discussing the 5 biggest lessons we have learned from this first month, now that there has been a big enough sample size to really see how these teams perform on a night-to-night basis. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first lesson learned from the first month of the season that we'll be discussing today is that the quote-unquote too skinny myth that surrounded both Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama coming into the year is being thoroughly busted. In back-to-back drafts now, we've had one of the top prospects come through the ranks possessing an incredibly intriguing skill set at their size, but so many people refuse to buy in on them because of their thin frame. Now, I'm not going to say that they don't need to put on muscle over time in order to continue to improve, but there was a very vocal opposition to them, with many going as far as to say that they were overrated and would end up being busts because of the fact that they're going to get bullied at the next level. Things like, wait until they have to guard Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, were common phrases thrown out there, which was always a ridiculous sentiment because, in case you guys haven't realized by now, those two players dominate pretty much every single matchup thrown at them on a nightly basis. It's why they are MVPs of this league. Wembanyama, as a teenage rookie, is averaging about 19 points and 10 rebounds per game, while ranking 3rd in the league in blocks per game. Chet Holmgren, in his official rookie season this year after missing all of last season due to injury, is averaging a highly efficient 18 points and 8 rebounds per game, while blocking the 4th most shots per game in the league. These two young big men are taking the league by storm, proving that their versatility and skill at their size can be lethal, and their defensive instincts are top-notch, even if they aren't the strongest guys in the world yet. The next lesson learned after a month of play is that top-heavy, star-powered rosters are starting to be phased out by the more well-balanced and well-rounded rosters at the top. Now, when I say this, I think you all know which team I'm referring to. The Los Angeles Clippers went all in on a super team that would have had folks petrified if the year was 2017, but unfortunately for them, we're living in the year 2023, and the juggernaut that they built on paper isn't actually performing anything close to such on the basketball court. The ironic part of it all is that the team started the season pretty well, winning 3 of their first 5 games prior to trading for James Harden, but then in order to bring Harden in, they shipped out pretty much all of their front court depth, and now they're experiencing growing pains that might not be fixable. They've got 4 wins and 7 losses since then, and 2 of those wins came against last place San Antonio, so it's hard to find many positive takeaways from their play. The offensive side of the ball is where they were supposed to be dominating with this much firepower, but they're just the 20th ranked offense in the league this season, and when you watch them play, you can just tell that nobody is really comfortable in their role. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are sacrificing even more touches so James Harden can initiate the offense, while Harden's definitely starting to show signs of a slowing down former star. Neither he or Russell Westbrook are effective off-ball players anymore, so the offense gets stagnant, and with their front court depleted, they've been getting killed on the glass, ranking in the bottom 3rd of the NBA in defensive rebounding percentage. Meanwhile, you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, who swapped Harden for that very depth, and you see a group with the 2nd best record in the Eastern Conference playing some incredibly well-structured basketball. Robert Covington's defensive disruption has been a huge plus for their rotation. Nicholas Batum has been a perfect stretch 4 to balance out their lineup, and Tyrese Maxey has been exploding in Harden's absence next to Joel Embiid, with those two forming a lethal 2-man game. The next lesson learned after 1 month of play is that the Dillon Brooks effect was severely underrated last year. I've discussed the Grizzlies quite a bit over the last few weeks, but I still just cannot get over how bad they are after 3 very strong seasons in a row, as they're currently in last place in the Western Conference tied with the Spurs. Even without Ja Morant over the last few seasons, they had an incredibly similar winning percentage in the games that he was missing, compared to the games that Morant was playing in. So they were able to overcome setbacks like that one that they're experiencing now before, but this year they're sinking fast without Morant, and I can't help but attribute some of it to Dillon Brooks. Brooks is a lot of things, but you cannot deny the passion and resilience that he plays with out on the court. He's someone who battles on defense every night and is a leader in that sense because he sets the tone that the rest of the team follows, and without that kind of tone setter, the Grizzlies look lost. Inversely, the Rockets are now getting to experience all of the positives of the Dillon Brooks experience, and I don't think there's a better piece of evidence to back up what I'm saying than the fact that the Rockets have gone from being the second worst defense in the NBA last season to now being the #1 ranked defense in the NBA this season after bringing in Dillon Brooks. Now obviously, there's a lot more that has gone into both situations, such as new coach Ime Udoka doing a great job with the Rockets, and the Grizzlies also losing Steven Adams and Tyus Jones, but pretending that Dillon Brooks doesn't make a difference can no longer fly. The next lesson learned from the first month of play is that the Timberwolves have figured out how to make the Rudy Gobert Fit work. Last season was a bit of a disaster for the Timberwolves after shipping out damn near their entire draft pick stash in order to bring in Rudy Gobert, only for them to finish as the 8th seed and be a first-round exit. They were good on defense last season, ranking 10th, but offensively they took a severe hit, ranking 23rd in the league last year, and although Karl-Anthony Towns was injured for a big stretch of last season, the fit between him and Gobert together on the court when they were healthy also looked quite clunky and uncomfortable. This season, though, the defensive identity that they dreamed of when they traded for Gobert is fully coming into fruition, and they're taking the leap into contention that they planned to make all along. The Timberwolves are in first place in the Western Conference right now, with a record of 12 wins and 4 losses. They're the second best defense in the league just behind Houston, and Rudy Gobert is back to playing like the Defensive Player of the Year candidate that he's been, after bringing home the award 3 times while playing in Utah. Anthony Edwards taking the reins as a bona fide #1 option, taking another leap forward offensively also definitely helps, and I've been impressed with Karl-Anthony Towns' ability to take a bit of a back seat behind he and Gobert, and just doing what he can to accommodate those two, who have become the central figures to the team's success. And finally, the last lesson learned from the first month of the season that we'll be discussing today is that the Indiana Pacers are this year's version of last year's Sacramento Kings. The Pacers play a ridiculously hectic, up-tempo play style that has resulted in some highly entertaining, yet incredibly chaotic games so far. Led by Tyrese Halliburton, who is emerging as one of the best guards in the entire NBA this year, they play with the fastest pace in the whole league, trying their hardest to run you out of the gym. Where they compare to last year's Kings is the fact that they too are the ranked #1 offense in the league this season, while also ranking as the second worst defensive team this season. They score a ton of points, and they give up a ton of points, just like the Kings did last season, and just like the Kings found out in the playoffs last season when they lost in the first round. That style of play isn't necessarily the best recipe for success in the postseason, when games typically slow down a lot more. For now, though, they're a very fun team to watch, who play an exciting brand of basketball, and after a few years of rebuilding, they're looking like a group ready to make the playoffs and take a leap. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what has stood out the most to you after a month of play so far this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.